Lord, we give thanks for the opportunity to gather together today, do your business of the school and of the community. As we enter the season of Christmas and Savior's birth, we pray for special blessing on all of the teachers, administrators, students, faculty, in support of our schools and our community. May this be a joyous and safe holiday season for everybody. May everyone return for a fresh start in January and another outstanding year. In the Lord's name we ask it. Amen.
Thank you. We'll call this meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is recognition, individual student growth. I would ask, as you are all here, to wait until the end of all the recognition, and then we'll have an opportunity for a graceful exit. Should you choose to leave, you're welcome to stay, but I would ask that you stay till the end of all of the recognitions.
The best part of our meetings is this part, when we get to recognize individuals, both students and staff, who have achieved greatness in one of our 4 guiding principles. And we will start out tonight with students. And underneath the guiding principle of student achievement and growth, we'd like to recognize first Audrey Lett, who is a 7th grader at FCMS. Audrey won first place in the Whiteland VFW Patriots Pin Contest. She is here tonight also with Mrs. Shauna Gant, who is Audrey's teacher. So if you two would please come up and be recognized.
I'm going to have you stand by Mr. Thompson. He's our board president.
Hi. Congratulations.
I'm going to hand you the mic. Here's your certificate. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the VFW Pin Contest, and then introduce the people that brought you tonight.
Well, I really wanted to tell everybody what the veterans did for us. I think I achieved that. But like, I don't know. The veterans do a lot for us, and the veterans, yeah.
How'd you find out about the contest?
Okay, Ms. Gant told us, and I didn't know if I was going to have time to do it, but I had the musical practice, and I did it that night, and I was like done.
Oh, well, great.
Yeah.
Must be a great teacher that helps you with that, right? All right. And how about anyone who brought you tonight?
My mom and my dad. My dad's name is Chad, and then my mom is Heather. Then my little brother Asher, my bigger brother Tristan, and Madeline. And I really want to say thanks to my mom because I got a better idea from the veterans from videos that we watched, and that was her idea from watching those videos.
That's outstanding. Well, we're going to take a picture, and I'll take the mic back. We'll have you stand right next to her as well. And then when you're finished, if you can go over and shake all of the other board members' hands as well, that'd be great. Mom and Dad, you good? Okay. All right. Congratulations.
Next, we'd like to recognize a second 7th grader from Franklin Community Middle School, Emma Dillon. Emma was nominated for the Prudential Spirit of Community for her Emma's Bows for a Cure project. Emma has raised over $15,000 with her Emma's Bows for a Cure to donate for causes to help cure cancers. She helped our victims this summer with the summer tragedy, and she also helped purchase hearing aids. Underneath the guiding principle of leadership, we'd like to recognize Emma Dillon.
Congratulations, Emma. That's great. And Mr. Thompson, here's your certificate. Can you talk a little bit about your BOWS program?
I have a business called Emma's Bows for a Cure, and I make necklaces and bows for the American Cancer Society. I helped with Franklin Strong and many local children who have had cancer.
That's awesome. That's great. And who brought you tonight?
My mom and dad brought me, Michelle and Joe Don.
How about your brother? Is he here
And
too?
my brother, David.
That's right. Well, congratulations. That is awesome. Oh, we're going to take a picture. Okay. You can step over here if you need. Okay. All right.
Do you want to say what you think about your brother right here tonight?
And if you'll go over and say thank the board, that'd be great.
This is a great night for the middle schools. Our next three students are also from, no, I don't have to grade, just from the
No,
middle
hi.
school. But we'd like to
High school,
recognize
right.
all state honor choir members. We have 3 from FCMS who were selected this year. Mrs. Tara Bell is their teacher, and I believe is here with them tonight as well. So 8th grade, thank you. If we could recognize Michaela Cox, Eleanor Bennett, and Olivia Frazier.
Michaela, Eleanor, and Olivia. Congratulations. Yeah. They tell you you're gonna sing. Did they tell you that ahead of time? That's what I like. All right. Well, congratulations. Here, I'll give you the mic if you want to introduce your parents.
My parents are Andrea Bennett and Jeff Bennett, who are here with me, and I don't know. I'm gonna sing alto in the all-state choir. So
My parents, Steve Fraser and Gina Fraser, are here with me tonight. And even though some of my family can't be here, such as Jessica Fraser or Jeremy Fraser, who've been big supporters, along with my past voice teacher, who won't be able to be attending any of my future events because of her demise over the summer, Miss Denise Sherman, who gave me all the confidence I have, along with my current voice teacher, Courtney Durham, and my amazing teacher, Miss Bale.
I'd like to say thank you to my mom and dad, and one of my biggest supporters. And they've just, oh yeah, Tanya and Clay. And yeah, I'm also doing alto for Allstate.
Congratulations. Miss Bell. Miss Bell, you can come on up as well. I want to put you right in the middle there between Miss Fraser and Miss Cox, and we'll try to get Mom and Dad. Feel free to come in the middle and grab pictures. Congratulations, that's great.
Go over this way.
Yeah, Jess is not. Yeah, Jess is not. You can just mention that she did sign Division
Next, we'd like to recognize 2 student athletes who have both signed to compete in Division I athletics in college. First, Jess Admire, who couldn't be here tonight, but she has signed with Butler to play volleyball. And then here with us is Evan Giles, who has signed with Indiana State to play baseball.
Congratulations again. What are you going to study at Indiana State?
Right now it's between construction management or biology. I haven't really decided yet.
And who brought you tonight?
My mother, Kim.
Well, congratulations. I know you've had a great baseball career. You were Johnson County Player of the Year last year, and we'll get to continue to watch you this spring, and we'll look forward to watching you in Terre Haute as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next, we have
That's all right.
3 fall coaches who were all selected as the Mid-State Conference Coaches of the Year. We'd like to recognize Adam Schwartz for boys cross country, Rod Snyder for boys tennis, and Travis Gapehart for girls volleyball.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job, Coach. Yeah. All right. There you go. Each of these gentlemen also their teams won the conference championship in some endeavor. So we congratulate. This is Travis's first year as head coach. So obviously all the rest of the years will have high expectations. They'll keep coming back. So, but great job, gentlemen. Well done. Anyone say anything?
This is the second year in a row that the boys tennis team did win the conference after having a 22-year drought of not winning the conference. And we had 2 seniors make all-star. There's 4 districts that have all-stars, 7 in each district. But we had 2 of the 7 in our southeast district. So.
That's great.
Like Mr. Clinton said, my first year being at the helm, definitely learned a lot of things not to do. That's part of the process. Gained a few gray hairs, so I did get a lot of experience and look forward to the next seasons to come. We did really well this year, but definitely have a lot of talent coming back. So we look forward to what we go into.
Just like these guys said, the cross country team also had an outstanding season. This is our second year in a row to win a conference championship. But on the individual side, we had 3 all-conference runners. We had 3 all-county runners. We had 3 all-sectional runners. We had 3 all-regional runners, which is just phenomenal. But more importantly, we had 3 guys that were academic all-conference, all 3 of our seniors, which is very important. And then even more impressive, we had 1 athlete, which is academic all-state, which is it's a huge honor in the state of Indiana to be recognized for that. So that was kind of one of our highlights. Some of our highlights.
All right, congratulations. Let's squeeze together here and we'll get our picture. Good job. Well done.
Still underneath our guiding principle of leadership, we'd next like to recognize Northwood Elementary Essential Skills Assistant Linda Berry for performing the Heimlich maneuver successfully, thank goodness, on one of our students that was choking on a cherry tomato at lunch. She saved the day, so thank you very much for stepping forward and being our leader.
That's us. Thank you very much. That's just great. Okay. Do you want to say anything?
No, I'm just glad the training pays off.
Yes, it does. That's exactly right. Good job. Well done.
And then lastly tonight from our IT department, we'd like to recognize Julia Harris for successfully completing the certification process to become a Google Apps certified administrator.
Well done. Good job. Didn't I tell you were coming today? Okay. All right, well done.
Thank you.
Are we done?
That's it.
Now would be a time, if you so choose, to make a graceful exit. You're welcome to stay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Well, he's yeah. I told Tammy I was going to walk her on as recognition. No, I think
First item on the next item on the agenda is the public and board comments. First, well, we'll come back to the board. If anyone has any comments relative to anything on the agenda, you may come up to the podium. Keep your comments to around 2 minutes, please. None appearing. We'll move to board comments on particular items. Music Council.
We haven't met since the last time.
Okay. Athletic Council, we have not met. We met prior to last board meeting. Legislative. Nope.
Let's review a few policies. That's about it.
Oh, yes. You'll see our policies
Yes.
later.
Thank you for your work.
Superintendent Strategic Task Force. Communications.
We've not met.
Central 9.
Central 9 is working on recouping textbook fees with the schools. for our free and reduced students, money that apparently has slipped through the cracks for quite a period of time. So that's a nice find. And we did hear from the Daryl Willoughby is the Central Nines teacher, 20 years, teaches precision machinery. And he has 30 students now in the technology early college program. And they really are working to add computer networking to the electronics program next year. And we're going to add a second counselor at C9 in January. And that will help immensely, I think, with student attendance and maybe even with interaction with businesses to place some of our students. So that's what's going on at C9.
Okay, thank you. And finally from the RDC.
Nothing really new.
Okay. Anything from the administration?
Yes, just a couple things. Under consent agenda, we will be bringing forward a swimming team overnight event that Mr. Harder is going to speak on. And then regarding the superintendent's strategic task force, we did meet with PTO presidents last week and talked a little bit about what we're doing with regard to communication. Mrs. Nally shared the new assessments that are coming before us. And then we also agreed that we would meet once each semester from now on, just to pull ideas and kind of create more synergy on what we're doing as far as tapping into the work and the support of our school. So it was a very good meeting. Communications, we meet this Wednesday coming up.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to consent agenda. Underneath the consent agenda is the overnight state trip. Mr. Harder, if you want to talk about the other trip that needs to be added.
Yeah, the swimming and diving team will be taking a overnight trip to the FFA Leadership Center on December the 30th. It's just a part of a team camaraderie, build that. Then the next day, they go up to the IU natatorium to do some training, and then they go out to lunch and so forth. And so that is why it's being brought for an overnight trip.
Questions for Mr. Harder? All right, not appearing, the consent agenda is in front of you.
Move for approval.
It's been moved for approval. Further discussion? Not appearing, all those in favor signify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Superintendent's report. FCS preschool update. Ms. Kreitz.
A few minutes to just fill you in where we are in the process. I was here a few months ago, let you know where we are in the Franklin Preschool project, and we are still moving rapidly. Same committee breakdown was previously. We went back to the core committee to do some of the stuff within the last month, but we will break out again into those subcommittees again coming up next week. The project tracker, we keep checking things off, making sure we're crossing all our T's and dotting all our I's. We're getting really close to registration. So all those communication pieces are really starting to come together pretty rapid. We shared this preschool information sheet. It was something that the committee put together as just a communication device to just start sharing and get the Franklin schools buzz with the preschool coming to Franklin schools. And so that was just a snapshot that we shared with the survey that we pushed out, along with some email communication. And these are just some highlights that kind of cover a variety of different committees. We did push out a preschool survey, and I am pleased to announce that we have 192 people interested in Franklin Schools preschool, which is very exciting when we know we'll only be able to do about 80 students. 3 full-time and 1 half-time section. We might adjust some of that just depending on the need, and if all of them come to registration, are we going to have a waiting list? Are we going to try to open another one in a projected building that we're thinking? But I've been on there every day and just look, and we still have people going in and taking the survey, which is really exciting. So 192. I was hoping for 50 to 80, but that was a great number. Yeah. We are continuing to research the CCDF voucher and PCQ. I mentioned the CCDF voucher when Mr. Thompson asked about, are we able to get some of those at-risk students in?
this will be one of the routes we will be able to do that. We're going through that process right now, and it is a voucher for any parent that is a single parent, either going to college or has a full-time job. So that's one piece. And then the PTQ, which is Pathways to Quality, and that will help us, part of the, what the state of Indiana is doing to, on the 5 counties that were selected for some of that funding. And so they're using that as the pathways for potential funding and to get all the funding for the CCDF voucher, the leveling system. And we are hoping to call it Cub Academy. We're starting to toy around with some names, and we thought that if we call the preschool, SCSU preschool Cub Academy, we haven't nailed that down for sure, but we thought that could be a good umbrella for those other programs we'll want to put under this umbrella. Projected staffing at this point, 6.5 assistants, 3.5 teachers. And registration information is on the next slide. All early childhood the associations all recommend the 3 hours for the actual preschool for the instruction. So we will follow that model in a half day and a full day with a daycare option. And then the last part I wanted to share. For everyone that is interested, we're going to results to start contacting people and make those spreadsheets, because at the end of it asks for student's name, parent, contact information, email. So we'll start communicating and pushing out some information to the ones that already completed the survey. One of the committees will be doing that as a communication piece. And all the registration will happen at Northwood, but that won't be the only location that all preschool. That's just a quick summary. Little PR on preschool, and wanted to see if you had any questions or feedback.
Just a quick bit of information. Preschool will follow the calendar that the school adopts, correct?
Yes, sir.
We want to make sure that everyone's clearly aware of that as we move forward. This is intended to look at that. We're looking obviously as ACE and some other programs, but the preschool will follow the calendar for Franklin Community Schools.
And we are offering a before school and after school daycare package for those parents that need that.
Any other comments? I think the only, go ahead.
I mean, just as far as price wise, do you have any ideas what it's gonna run?
We're projecting the 155 amount for the all day and daycare package, 155 for the week. That includes anywhere between 6:30 and 5:30 p.m. and the preschool included for 5 days a week. And what we did was, Christy, we looked at Johnson County, Franklin, surrounding school districts, and we really are competitive with those people that we researched. And then we haven't nailed down the half time. We've looked, but around 90 for that 3 hours of instruction, 5 days a week.
Where does you were mentioning you're hoping to have 80 or so, kind of where, I mean, it sounds like you're going to have a great turnout, right?
Yes.
So where, if the numbers don't come in, where kind of does it, from a, I wouldn't call it a break even, but from a financial perspective, do you start getting a little worried?
If we do not have the 80 that we would like to lock in, we've got all the numbers around 80, 3 full-time and a half-time. We will stack in the 60, and we have numbers ran for that. But we have made some adjustments with our staffing to make sure that we will not lose money. I'm confident about that.
Well, it sounds like that's not going to be.
The initial number is 55.
Yes. Okay, cool. Nice.
And have you nailed down logistically where you're going to host
In the
this?
survey, if you had a chance, I don't know if anybody's looked at it, but we are projecting out that it would be located at Webb, Northwood, and Creekside, depending on how we would fill those positions. One of the questions was even, where would you prefer to go? Because we want to see where they stack up. Most likely those 3 locations. That halftime potentially will be at Webb, but it probably depends on where the need is or where the preference is. Somewhat flexible, but we're projecting out those 3 locations at this point.
Okay. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you.
Ms. Kreitz is doing an outstanding job of leading this committee, so I want to
No
publicly
doubt,
thank her
yeah.
for what's taking place.
All right, moving on. Action items, 7.1, resolution to transfer appropriations. Mr. Mercer.
I come before you each year to do this. It's really just, we did two things here, and we can take them one at a time. But the resolution to transfer appropriations allows us to end the year out of the red. And so at the regularly scheduled board meeting in January, I'll be back with specific details. If you remember, there's a packet about that thick. But at any rate, if you would be so kind as to give me permission to be able to do that prior to the end of the year, then we can end the year in the, at least not in the red as we transfer appropriations. So I'm asking your permission to do that.
Move for approval.
It's been moved for approval. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by a sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
And continuing on, temporary transfer loan resolution ordinance.
Second resolution is to allow us to utilize dollars because grants are reimbursable, virtually all of them now in nature. This allows us to move dollars out of our rainy day fund to be able to cover those expenditures until we get to January, and then we replenish the dollars back in the rainy day fund after the first year. So I'm also asking your permission to utilize those dollars to help bridge the gap with grants.
It's your pleasure.
Move for approval.
It's been moved for approval. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by a sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, discussion items, online payment, Mr. Sprout.
This is a project that we took on trying to provide opportunities for our parents to be able to pay for items. And I'll take you through the project and then make suggestions and then open for discussion for questions and potentially further research. So we searched for online bill pay. This would give the teacher or parents initially the ability to pay for textbooks online. We would look at extending that, but our modified objective, it changed multiple times, was with the current textbook rental and potential upcoming payments, ACE Preschool to name another, school sales events, determine the best method of taking online payments to meet the need of all customers. And customers were defined by people inside and outside the school district. We did an AHP, one of my favorite tools, to determine what was the important criteria in trying to determine which option was the best for us. The top three are in bold in a larger font, multiple bank accounts. In a scenario with textbooks, we want the money to go into this bank account. Obviously, if we're going to talk about preschool, but we don't want to mix those two bank accounts. So if you're going to pay for preschool or something else, we wanted the opportunity to provide that avenue. Alio Cash, you probably haven't heard of. Indiana is one of the few states where we do textbook rental. And as such, Alio Cash interfaces with PowerSchool and is that back-end engine for textbook rental. Meal Magic was another component. And earlier I talked about the modified objective. Due to certain scenarios, Meal Magic is our food software where they can pay for their food online for the students. That dropped out of the project in that if we went with this potential application or any of them, parents wouldn't be able to get as much information. With the new application that we might suggest, the opportunity to see how much your student was spent on lunch, $4.25, was there. You just couldn't get the details to see how many milks your students ordered or whatnot. And so that was a critical component that food services felt that they continued to provide. So that dropped out. Vendor options, these are the vendors that bubbled to the top. Send Money to Schools, eFunds, RevTrack. Skyward is actually also a student information system, and then also School Pay. School Pay is the only vendor that met our criteria. They are the only ones that integrated with Alio Cash, and as you may recall by our project statement, being able to pay for textbooks was a critical component. School references, we look for 2 school references within the state of Indiana. Marion and Zion have had great things to say about the application. Zionsville has a number of avenues that we might pursue, and this might be able to help. They have a wonderful preschool. I'm not sure that they integrate this directly into it, but that might be an avenue that we might pursue with that. So what's the price? I like getting directly to this side as quickly as I can. The initial startup costs are $750. The annual cost incurred by the districts would be $300. This is where the transaction costs come in. It's 2.99% of the transaction plus 30 cents per transaction. The electronic checks are 0.75% and 50 cents a transaction. There's a lot of discussion on our team as to how we might want to forward those costs on or keep them in-house. We came up with 4 options. Option 1 is families incur all the costs. When we go to Walmart and we buy a pack of gum, there's that percentage in there. They mark that up. Unbeknownst, schools, we get to be a little more transparent. So here's your textbook fee, and this would be the 2.99% and the 30 cents in transactions. The option 1 would be families incur all the costs. As families currently do not cover any costs associated to the textbook, we could recoup approximately $2,000 if we pursued option 1. Option 2 is families incur part of the costs. This could come into option 3, 4, 5, 6. This is kind of where we might have that discussion if you're interested in that. Option 3, families incur no costs. The increase in costs would be incurred by the district and would continue to increase as additional families pay online. The struggle here would be the departments. If you recall, we talked about having different accounts. So who pays for that 2.99%? Who pays for that 30 cents if the district takes that on? Do we charge that to the athletics? Currently, you can't buy a yearbook with a credit card. So who takes on that 2.99%? Option 4, as we continue to talk about, was keep the current process. To define what that is, all fees using the current readers, that's referring to that $2,000, will be incurred by Franklin Schools. The charges for online purchases would be incurred by the parent. But in-person payments using a credit card would not. This definitely limits our expansions for in-person credit card payments. For example, currently the only way to pay for a broken Chromebook, personal example, is with cash or check. There's no way to take an online or credit card for that. So if we went with option 4, it would definitely limit our ability to expand in those avenues. Implementation schedule. Presentation to the central office was made. We made this presentation here. We would look at returning in January for board approval, and then implementation and training in March. Communication, I think that's going to be a critical component in this, no matter which option we might choose. Communication of the process and current status is ongoing. The team has done a great job with that. Bullet number 2, I can't stress enough. No matter what route we take, we need to over-communicate with parents. They need to know that it's coming. So that way when they show up or they go online, they understand that that fee is there. Presentations to the principals at cabinet in December, and then a presentation to the school administrative assistants after board approval, potentially. And last of all, we do the presentation of the process and procedures for new application in February and March. So the control phase, what does that look like? In the presentation to the principals and admin staff, we would discuss the time frame and the school pay account setup. One of the options that we might pursue would be to open up our labs so that parents could come in and not only sign up and pay for their textbooks, they could buy sportswear. We could actually, based on Jill, if they qualify, actually sign up for free, or fill out an application for free and reduced. So if they qualified for that, that'd be a great opportunity. And also immediately get them into Power School so they can get their kids' grades and their attendance and help. 1 year after implementation, we're going to readdress. We're not really willing to let go of food services. As we talk to school pay, they're working with that software and trying to get those details so that they can show them the information also. 1 year after implementation, we'd look at expanding it. We'd look at buying yearbooks online. We'd look at giving parents that opportunity. All right, there's a presentation. I'm going to switch back to the options screen because that's where I think a lot of our focus will take place. But if you have any questions, I've got some of the team here, so we'd be glad to answer them or pursue gathering more information.
I'm curious, you made a statement about the food service, about maybe I misunderstood, but didn't want to go to it because they'd lose the ability to do what?
Right. So my son goes to the cafeteria and he buys a lunch, and I put enough money in there for him to buy lunch all week long. Well, he can also go buy another chocolate milk and another this and another that. Currently, I can get online and see all the individual items that my son might have purchased. In this application, as it sits right now, I would not. It would just say his lunch cost this much. So instead of the $2 and some change fee, it might be $4. Well, I don't know if he bought 2 lunches. I don't know quite what took place. And so with the current application as it sits right now, they don't have that potential, working towards it. But currently, the food services department application can do that.
Curious how many parents actually look at that.
Quite a few.
Yeah. Two? You got two.
It was posed to Jill. Jill was on the team. It was posed to Jill. She was a bit fearful when realizing all the parents that would be calling and saying that, what did my student get with this? I understand that it's used by those that, for students that extend their lunch money a little further than what mom and dad might hope.
Okay.
You know, Mrs. Milliken's going to be looking for a job soon. Maybe we can ask her to hang out and check all the meals.
And there's some opportunity, Darren, there's also some opportunity costs there. Obviously, food services is fielding those phone calls from parents trying to explain what they're, because they still can. Parents, if we went with this application for food services, parents could still call in, get an itemized list, talking to somebody at food services, and we've got the opportunity cost of something else that they could be doing.
Matt, do you mind sharing a little bit about what you found out relative to other districts around us?
Thank you. In researching it in other districts, what they're doing, we're following suit here. We're not leading the way. One school district we spoke with has completely removed the ability to take cash and check. This is the way you pay. So as we look at where we're at, we aren't leading the way here. We're kind of following suit. And so we're trying to get parents familiar with this and the opportunity of it, giving them another avenue, but we're certainly not leading the way.
What about the fees, Matt?
Yeah.
What are the other districts doing with the fees?
I don't have those directly offhand. I know there's one school that was like a mixture. The other percent, they're passing it on to the parents. We see that more and more. I dealt with a business today that wants to continue to pass on that fee.
There's no doubt there's going to be a growing need for this, right? I'd be curious to see how your conversation went internally, what the admin staff thought.
Okay.
As far as the options.
Sure. Obviously here we've got PAC, so the whole auditorium, all those avenues, excuse me, the athletics, the bookstore, the Chromebooks. Honestly, we got really excited about it, and then we got really nervous at taking on too much. We want to succeed at first, and so that's why we're going to start out slow with the textbooks and looking in a year to expanding. We could certainly do it sooner. We just want to get our feet on the ground before we take on too much.
Were you asking about the fees?
The presentation to the central office administration.
Right.
You gave this presentation. I'm curious to see
When
what
you-
the feedback was.
Yeah. When we met, what advice did we give or feedback did we provide? I think the thing that we did encourage Matt to continue to explore, but was reiterated, the district itself cannot incur additional costs to provide this opportunity for parents. So when it really came back around to the various options, we felt option one was the best for us. We're doing this not as a mandatory requirement for parents. It's just a way to provide more ease and opportunity.
Another option.
Another option. So we felt option one was really the only option for our district. We cannot take on additional costs to do this because right now in our present practice, we're already doing some things as far as tracking people down. And Ms. Jackson's here to tell you from the treasurer's side all the things we have to do just to make the present system work. So we weren't going to do additional as far as costs and that type of thing.
I think the other salient point from a central office perspective is in making sure that everyone knows that this is not the only way that you can pay. So should you choose not to incur the fee, you can still pay by check or with cash. One of our concerns, and I think Tammy can validate this from a building treasurer perspective, is what we didn't want to have happen was a parent show up in the building expecting to pay with a credit card, tell them that it's a 2.99% fee plus a 30-cent transaction, and have somebody get upset at one of the ladies in the building because they didn't know what was going on. And so Matt highlighted the communication piece. I think that's really relevant. Tammy, would you validate that from your perspective? So we didn't want to set somebody up to fail out of the gate, but those were important pieces.
And in the preschool research, I'd say 75% of schools and districts around us that did accept credit cards, that cost went back to parents as we looked in the preschool land of putting things on credit cards. That cost went back
I have some- What are the $2,000 that we don't recoup annually? What are those costs from the textbook rental? What is that?
Those are the folks that go into a building and currently charge their textbook rental on a card. We eat that fee
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
And so if we chose to do this, then that would then go back to the
So whether
parents.
it's a debit or a credit card, then
Right, yes.
we still have to pay. And that would be the same thing, the fee would be the same with either one, a debit or a credit card, it would still be the 2.9.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
We do have, and Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have card readers in all the buildings at this point. Correct. Those would be in effect replaced if we choose to go this direction. We would no longer need those unless you selected option 4, which is to keep the current card readers in place and then just utilize the online opportunity of this program. Then we would still incur the $2,000 cost, and the parents would incur the cost of the online.
So you plan on coming back next month with a recommendation? And
Either way, next week, next month, I'm, yes, next month. And
I'm
then this
not-
was,
I'm not
if you
coming
had
here
any
next week.
questions that we needed to research, if you have any idea on which option, obviously the company would like to write the contract, and I'd like to get that to Roger for him to review it before next board meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on, 8.2 Neola policies, first reading. Dr. Clendenning.
There are several in there, but I would like to just highlight a few of them. One all the way down to weapons policy. Last General Assembly changed the law that allowed for concealed weapons to be on our property as long as they remained in the car and the person was over 18 and they had the appropriate certification license to do that. So the new policy reflects that. I will note that the policy does have a few exceptions, and those are on approval of the principal as part of a class or individual presentation and under adult supervision. They could bring in a gun or something that would resemble that. Previously, we had a musket loading class, I believe, back when we did the January term. So if it was a part of the curricular aspect. Second one would be for theoretical props. So if we're doing a play and they have to use a starter gun or something like that, that would still be permissible. And then also for track meet or cross country meet, a starter pistol used for the appropriate sporting. So those things would not be excluded under our policy. So please note that. And then the other one pertains to the RIF language. As you know, in the last 2 terms ago, they did away with language with regard to RIF and seniority. And we have a handbook that we've agreed with FCTA to follow the recommendation for RIF that parallel what we've been doing. It is now under the advisement to put this into policy so that everyone can see that. So this is for discussion, but letter A is the actual RIF language that we use in our handbook. So when we meet, and if riffing would occur, I'd meet with Mr. Wallace, and the following are the items in rank order as they would fall for a reduction in force. So at this time, we're asking to be put into policy for future riffing, and hopefully no one ever have to use it. But the old way really left a lot of ambiguity. There was no law with riffing, or it could create some stress. There's actually a pending court case down in Madison, Indiana, where they riffed a senior teacher, and they said it was for age discrimination. This just provides clarity for us. So the remaining policies are very just move along and follow any new policy or procedure that's put in place from Neola. There are none really to highlight there. I would highlight, I guess one more, the foreign exchange opportunity. This would allow us to be the issuer of the visa In the past, that has gone on to another third party, but this one will allow us to do that if we so choose. And it would really be for year 2 of an exchange student coming. They'd come with the program, and then they would want to stay with us. This would allow us to issue that visa if we deemed appropriate and it would meet our needs. So, those are the items with regard to policies, and then we'll come back next time and we will ask for approval of these. Also, we'll be talking with FCTA regarding the RIF policy, just to make sure everybody's clearly understanding that we didn't change anything. It's just placing this inside of the policy.
Okay. Do you have any questions regarding policies at this moment? Okay, moving on. Thank you, Mr. Sprout. Board administrative comments. First from the board. Any comments relative to any topic in the school corporation?
We'd like to, I believe this will be Mrs. Milliken's last board meeting. And we would like to thank you very much for investing so much of your career and your life into our schools and the kids in our community. We appreciate that very much. And we would also like to let you know that there is a possibility that you could go onto the Ray Jones plan and continue to come back to the board meetings. And there's, you know, and then I would like to comment also on the for our dinner last week. The schools that was done by our staff, the food, and it was just excellent. And we, you know, I just would like to thank you for that.
Any other comments? I would say that if you didn't make the choral concert last Thursday or Friday, you missed some outstanding musical performance by high schoolers. A lot of talent, and they were really, really good. So hats off to that program for that. And I do believe there's a Christmas band concert on
Thursday.
So another opportunity to see the performing arts in action. Administrative comments.
Yes, continuing with the performing arts conversation. Recently, the choir competed in the B105 Winter Christmas contest, and we won. So they will receive $2,500, and that money is going to be used to help offset the cost to St. Louis for many of the kids to have an opportunity to go. So that's just an outstanding thing. If you did not get a chance to hear their version of Little Drummer Boy, it was outstanding. And so we want to thank Mr. Hummel and everyone for doing that $2,500. Also, board, just a few reminders that on January 2nd is Teacher Record Day, but we do have several of the elementary teachers that participated in parent-teacher conferences, and so they will not be, their record day actually was during the conference. So they will not be in attendance on the campus on January 2nd for that, but we do have the secondary faculty and administration will be there, so we'll make sure we highlight that. And finals begin next week for our students. I want to remind everyone to get ready for that, and then we are out.
Okay. Any other administrative comments? All right, none appearing. We'll move on to the last item, public comments. If you have any comment relative to anything in the corporation, please come up, state your name, and keep your comments to around 2 minutes. Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. Ray Jones, I'm the bad penny that keeps returning. But tonight I'm representing the Indiana State Retired Teachers Association and 53,000 public teachers that are retired in the state of Indiana, and the over 1,100 that public educators that are retired in Johnson County. As president of the Johnson County Retired Teachers Association and a board member of the State Board of Indiana Retired Teachers, I would like to welcome Mrs. Milliken over to the brighter side of life. And believe me, you can stay busier in retirement than you were when you were working. Proof of that. So Mrs. Milliken, I'd like for you to come forward. I have a free 1 year's membership in the Johnson County Retired Teachers and a invitation to join the Indiana Retired Teachers. And thank you for all your years of service and opportunities. And I think like any retired teacher that you'll talk to, you will enjoy your retirement. And appreciate your
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? None appearing.
So move.
Move for approval. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Be safe.